Shalom, everybody, and good morning. Welcome to the morning pages here on the Working Class Chronicles. I am your host, Renaissance Woman, aka Ren Judah, and I just wanted to, not in lieu of a drive time live this morning, I just wanted to pop in and just say hi and talk about the ongoing series that I have. I have a lot of ideas, and initially, that energy was directed in other places, primarily my place of employment. But for me, we are talking about navigating toxic work environments here. And one of the things that I had to learn was when your gifts and resources are not appreciated, you take your toys and go home. When other kids don't want to play with you, sometimes you just have to go home, right? There's always that joke about how they took their ball and went home. It's normally about the sulking kid who's losing the game and they go home. But when it comes to adults, I think the dynamics are, of course, significantly different. It is sometimes you have to take your gifts, talents, and put them where they'll be celebrated, you know. And so that's why the content has just been nonstop lately, like the videos, the Office Terminator series, and all of these things have been a great outlet for me to help me find relief for dealing with my own situation because I do know what it's like to be harassed, discriminated against, and to not receive any help, to have no recourse, and to have people just sit and watch it, know it's wrong, and not be willing to do anything about it. Imagine being able to prove that you're being discriminated against. Imagine being able to prove that that documents are being falsified about you, and to have people just tell you that now you're the problem. And that's what tends to happen when it comes to these type of situations. The First of all, the entity is going to protect itself. So when we talked about in the Navigating a Hostile Work Environment series that HR isn't your friend, it's not a dig against HR, but their job is to protect the organization. And that means against you, even if your claims are legitimate, even though it would probably, in a lot of cases, when we're talking about these illegal activities, be to their benefit to remove that type of behavior from their organization. They tend to get in defense mode, and I think, in their mind, they start justifying it. Well, this is I don't know what stories they tell, but I will tell you this: it is a very traumatizing experience, and so I had to find outlets, and so I started doing other things. I started taking care of my. I'm working on taking care of myself actually, um, and I just this week have decided to let a few things go because you know sometimes when you're in a toxic work environment, life is not going to stop lifing, and I had life knock me on my ass this month, and so I came to the realization that I had to let some things go, and then just in casual conversation with you all, the idea of the office terminator situation came up, and I always ask, and I've been having a lot of conversations with people about toxic work environments, and they've shared some stories with me that have just blown my mind. And it's just like, I'm like, why are organizations allowing this behavior? And I'm really coming to the conclusion that I think as a group, as a society, we've lost our way. Jealousy, envy, sensationalism, narcissism, the idea that entitlement drives a lot of the behavior. Imagine having a coworker tell you that you stole their job. If it was your job, you'd have it. And never, people don't do any type of self reflection that maybe my behavior and my sense of entitlement and going around clicking up and deciding that um, you don't deserve something that you've earned. Like, you weren't vetted, your work history, your education, your experience, your talent don't matter to them when they're telling the story that they're being victimized and that you have something that should be theirs. Imagine dealing with that type of trauma on top of harassment, discrimination, um, the microaggressions and things that go on in an office, a toxic office environment. And imagine reaching out for help, feeling like you were heard, only to turn around and be told that nothing. So when I'm talking to people about these issues, I am not here to sell you a picture as if everything is going to be peachy keen cream. But I do think that it is important, especially for working class people, because I feel like we're often moving from one Pink Floyd to another. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall. And I feel like our stories don't get heard, our voices are never amplified. And that's my mission, to talk about the working class, to tell our stories, to share our experiences. Because when I read on Facebook that thread I showed you guys the other day, where the Hispanic woman was talking about how she loved her job, and one day just how being stopped by ICE and telling the story at work turned into her being targeted and harassed by her coworkers for not taking a joke that was said about it lightly. She complained about it. When you're a minority in a space, and you do have to deal with at times, if you have a majority group of other, they are going to be angry because nobody likes to be called racist, first of all, or to be told that they're saying anything discriminatory. Once you say those things or make those accusations, something is activated within these people who engage in this type of behavior. And now you're a problem. Now you have to go, and they will do everything they can to see you gone. I'm talking about, like, literally soap opera type of things. Things that, if just telling a person some of the stories that I've experienced, if I told people, they would think that I was making it up. Because to be honest with you, I would think that I would, like, really, grown people are doing that. Like, this sounds like an episode of a misguided high school or early or freshman college student, you know. And I don't know. I just felt like maybe this is the thing, and it just came, like, to me. I had a Mandalorian moment, right? This is the way. So I decided to start talking about. But you guys know the Working Class Chronicles have been a work in progress. I just didn't know where to go. So sometimes it says, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. My situation showed me that, hey, and I'm not the only one dealing with this. Other people are experiencing these things, and they want to talk about them, and they want to share. Because one thing I have learned is, you do not have to protect your employment when they're employer when they're engaged in misconduct and illegal activities. Discrimination is illegal. Sexual harassment is illegal. Harassment, workplace violence, these things are illegal. Falsifying documents, that's illegal. Coercion, that's illegal. So if you're experiencing these things, you have a right to report it and get the help that you need. So the lady was told that she needed to go through the HR and go through the EEOC. And she was just saying that she felt like the attorneys weren't helping her. So to you, I would say they are, because they know most working class people just don't have money like that. So the idea is to get as much of the paperwork as possible out of the way. Because here's the thing: once you ring that bell, once you file the complaints, there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. You're on radar, you're going to be targeted. And I hate to say this, un- unless you go through the entire process, that may give you some protection. But ultimately, they're going to get rid of you. That's their chief goal. And that's why the Bostinator is so funny. Because just like in the Terminator, how it says it won't stop until you're dead, the Bostinator will not stop until you're unemployed. There is no, and so you can be lulled into false senses of security when things calm down and get quiet. You think, maybe this is going to stop. It's not. They're just looking for a new angle. It never ends. The only way it ends is if the Bostinator is removed and somebody comes in and cleans up the culture. But I'm just going to be honest. I've never seen it happen on my end, and but I hope you have a different experience. I hope you get help. But I will just say this: the way society is now, I wouldn't hold your breath. Wouldn't hold my breath. And I know this sounds so negative in the morning, and I don't want to be negative, but I was really, when I woke up this morning and I started journaling, I was just thinking about that young lady, and I was like, what can I tell her when I I'm still baffled by this. But that's why I want to start getting some experts on here to come and talk to us and tell us what we're looking at. Why is this going on in our society? And why are there so many toxic work environments? And why is it being tolerated? Have we really lost our guide? Have we really lost our way? Are we really just suffering from complete and utter moral decay? Ethics depleted. Maybe every employer should just have a class on ethics, but I can say a lot of times, onboarding is onboarding, and a lot of times the lessons just don't stick because they're not enforced by anything. They're not modeled in the organization. So even if you have ethics class, it doesn't matter if ethics is not the culture. You have to cultivate a culture of morality and ethics in your workplace. You have to care about it because it is literally, the way that we treat each other, these relationships, whether they're familial or whether they're at work, they need to be cultivated. They need to be curated. They need to be germinated. They need to be propagated. They need to be taken care of and allowed to grow and flourish. You have to nourish it. You got to feed it. And you have to feed it good things. And that's why, over on the Hebrew Woman show, one of the slides that we always lead with is Titus. And we talk about how the older women are to be teachers of good things. An organization, you should be a model and teacher of good things. You should embody that so that when people come to your organization, whether it's for services, products, or whatever type of engagement, they see who you are. And who you are is something that everybody can be proud of. You know, that is my goal. My goal is to see places and toxic spaces get some toxic waste removal, to see these situations abated like you would abate lead. Okay? So that is the direction. That is the chief aim here, is to amplify working class voices, to make sure that our stories are told. And not just bad stories, right? We're not going to just talk about toxic work environments all the time because there's a lot of bright spots out here too. There are a lot of organizations out here that are doing great things. And this is just where I am right now because this is my personal experience. So sometimes that just shows up in the content. You'll see that show up in the creative process. And so, I shifted my creative process from creating newsletters and doing things over there to now doing them for myself. So you get to watch me as I go on my leadership journey and as I go on my content journey and just watch this all take place naturally. And I know that there are going to be some hurtful moments. There are going to be some things coming up that I'm just not going to like, but I'm trying to gird myself and put on the whole armor of God so that I can withstand the wiles of the devil because I do know that a lot of these things, this is spiritual warfare. I don't think people suffer from moral dilemmas personally. I think people are just okay with corruption. I think people are okay with toxic behavior. It's normalized dysfunction, and a lot of people thrive in chaotic and toxic environments. And I also noticed that for some people, particularly those who are unethical, it gives them an opportunity to hide because while the chaos is going on, they're over there doing other things. Me, I just sit and watch and wait, and I'm always watching and waiting and writing. And that's what you need to be doing. Stop explaining, stop rationalizing. When I first was accused of being like a favor hire or a DEI hire or, some type of, whatever it was, I immediately went into explanation mode, trying to prove to people who, first of all, they're not human resources. Why am I showing them my background in education and how much experience I have and the wealth of knowledge and service that I have and am able to provide? They don't care. I had to learn the hard way. Stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. If they have already made you the villain in their story, there is no amount of explaining and rationalizing that is going to fix it. So if that was something that was hard to accept and let go. But once you ring that bell, if you think you're just going to go lay low and they're going to leave you alone, and it's going to stop. It's not. There's always a trap. So what happens is, because you become an expert documenter, as I've shown you all how to do, they're not able to get you with the truth. So now this is where we get to talking about falsifying documents and lying witnesses, because they're promising each other things. As soon as she gets out of here, I'll give you this position. As soon as she gets out of here, we'll do that. So we got to work together. I watched them effectively deploy that strategy against someone prior to me. So that is why I was able to defend myself as effectively as I had. Because to be honest with you, had I not watched the playbook being played out in real time in my face, I wouldn't have been ready. Because I, I'm coming from a blue collar background. I wasn't ready for that type of maneuvering and behavior. But I watched it. It was systematic. It was cold blooded and executed in a way that not only it was shocking to everybody, but most people, when they witness that, especially the other employees, just think about the people on the periphery. They are not going to engage. They're scared now, and with good reason, because the things that you thought would protect you from that, you came to find out that it's just an illusion. There is no protection. There is no safety. So you just gotta. So my thing is, if you go out, for me, I'm gonna go out on my feet. I'm gonna go out telling the truth. I'm going to go out doing the right thing. I will go out knowing that my integrity and my ethics are intact. Other people don't, when you live in a society now where people don't care about that, while it may not mean anything to them, it means something to me, because I serve a true and living God. And all I'm saying to you, I don't want you to be down or discouraged, but all I'm telling you is protect yourself. And there is no amount. If you have been a victim of sustained attacks, don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe, the sudden niceness, the sudden willingness to cooperate. No, they have just finally realized that their strategy has not been effective. So we need to try another way. And that may sound paranoid, but it's not. Trust your instincts. I tell you all the time, because every time that I and listen, the reason why I'm telling you this is because I fell for it. The handshaking, the mediation, the you're gonna start over, and we're just gonna be professional, and we're not gonna do any of this. I fell for it. Unfortunately, more than once. It's not real. It's not going to happen. People who engage in these type of behaviors, they don't just suddenly have epiphanal shifts and stop being these type of people. So the best thing you can do, unfortunately, work on your exit strategy. And I saw someone else in a post. I saw a lot of someone in a post about leaving a toxic work environment say easier said than done. We all need our jobs, right? And to the lady who was talking about the job, the Hispanic lady, and she was saying, but I love this job. I felt like, oh, it was a gut punch, because I was like, this is me. And it's just like, what do you do? So I don't know, guys. I'm not a psychiatrist, a psychologist, an expert on any of this, but hopefully we can meet and find some of these people and get them on here to talk to us. Because now that I really see that so many of us are navigating toxic work environments, I want you to get help. I want to get help. But I can tell you the tools that I'm implementing here, they absolutely work. They will give you protection. Now, here's the thing, and I'm just going to be honest with you. They won't protect you in the workplace, because the conduct won't stop. It'll keep going. And HR is not going to help you, because they have to protect the organization. They're only interested in protecting the organization. And for them, your removal will cure the problem. So what you have to do is just count on the documentation after termination. I know that's hard, a hard pill to swallow, but in most cases, this is what happens. You get terminated, and then you're vindicated later on in court. However, those court dates may not happen for at least 2 to 3 years. In the meantime, which works for them, hopefully you've gone on, moved on, and found something else, and the fight is out of you. For me, mm, I don't know. I feel like I need to be a working class warrior. So this is where I'm at right now, because I'm just seeing too many stories, and I just feel like I don't think this is okay, and I feel like it is part of my mission right now to help people find ways to get safety, find ways to be to clean up their work environments when and if they can, and if not, exit with their dignity, ethics, and morals and integrity intact. So these are things to think on. Think on these things, and let's have these conversations. As always, put the email up. Message me at sister7@gmail.com. Come tell your story. You don't have to be on camera. As a matter of fact, this is the theme that we're going to go with. No, there's no need to be on camera. What's important here is the story. And how do we change these toxic work environments? How do we change the ethical and moral decay that we are seeing across so many organizations and entities, from the grocery store to the I don't know, I'm just telling you, to the library, I don't know, but everybody deserves to work in a safe, peaceful work environment. Life is lifing. It's hard enough as it is. The last thing you need is to be harassed and bullied and put upon on a daily basis for simply showing up and trying to do a job. And you definitely don't deserve it for being promoted. That being said, I'll talk to you guys later. Shalom.